evening from the News Radio, 1120, 93.7 FM KPNW studios. I am Bill Gunter London. And, of course, I do the wake-up call, 6 a.m. to 9, Monday through Fridays on KPNW, streaming worldwide at kpnw.com. Hey, Rick. We would like to bring you the crazy Oregon news, but first I have to tell you that Sean Sutherland is responsible for all of this. That's right. He's with Ask Insurance. So insurance can be pretty complicated. It doesn't make any difference whether you're dealing with your homeowner's insurance, car insurance, but in particular it can be really difficult if you're on Medicare and trying to figure out all the new rules and regulations or just your normal health insurance. So when you have questions, call the guy at Ask Insurance. That's Sean Sutherland. He's a good dude. All right, here's a look at our stories. An Oregon City couple was sentenced to 30 days in jail and 5 years of supervised probation. And it was after they failed to provide necessary medical care for their newborn son who died. Blair Edwards and Taylor Edwards both pled guilty to criminal mistreatment in the first degree of their newborn son, Hayden, who died right after birth. Now, the Edwards are members of the Followers of Christ Church, which rejects professional medical care in favor of prayer and faith healing. And now they also have to comply with a number of stipulations and strict conditions, ensuring that their 4 living children actually receive adequate medical care. The conditions include maintaining health insurance, regular medical checkups, and following all medical recommendations. Now, Hayden was born back in June and appeared healthy for about 36 hours before he started showing signs of what was called at the trial distress. Now, despite his deteriorating condition, the Edwards didn't go to a doctor. Instead, they prayed and did faith healing rituals. Hayden's cause of death was determined to be acute bilirubin encephalopathy due to hyperbilirubemia. And even though the cause of that condition couldn't be determined, what they do know is that the newborn had a rare neurological condition as a complication of untreated jaundice in babies. Now, this case marks the 6th prosecution of Followers of Christ church members in Clackamas County since 2008 for failing to provide adequate medical care to their kids. And in those 6 cases, 5 of them involved death. The state also alluded to the 2011 ruling in Oregon that ended legal protections for parents who choose faith healing over medical intervention to treat their kids. More than 100 people are going to be losing their jobs at the University of Oregon, addressing a deficit of $30 million. About half of the 117 jobs have already been cut. They're also not going to fill 59 vacant positions, and the university is going to be cutting budgets for faculty and student worker positions. They do say that commitments to current undergraduates and current graduate employees are going to be honored. U of O's president announced the budget reductions that'll impact faculty and staff positions. The job cuts alone are going to save about $25 million. The rest of the savings are going to be coming from savings in supply purchases and cutting back in a variety of other smaller areas. The university, though, says its goal is to have as little impact on students and research as possible. Now, this was discovered yesterday when University of Oregon President Carl Schultz sent out a message to staff and faculty addressing their budget problems and how they plan to deal with them. Oregon Governor Tina Kotek signed an executive order Monday ensuring that all new state buildings over 10,000 square feet meet, in her words, the highest seismic safety standards. She says it's so the government can respond to the needs of Oregonians during an emergency. The order also prioritizes improvements to existing buildings, housing agencies she thinks are critical to emergency response, and those over 50,000 square feet. Although, considering how Oregon responds to anything like COVID, during a major emergency, that could be kind of, well, scary, kind of, sort of. Like, really? Oregon Congresswoman Andrea Salinas visited Portland's ICE facility and said she had been reassured the agency would honor the constitutional rights of detainees. Initially, she says, they told her they don't deny due process. Then she talked to an immigration attorney who joined her, who disagreed, saying, in his words, several instances are known where ICE denied access to a phone or a lawyer. Trump then said, or Salinas then said, the Trump administration is sowing fear and confusion with ICE, where agents have no basis for who they target. Her visit comes a few weeks after a constituent was arrested on immigration charges while working at a fire camp in Washington. A convicted drug trafficker who's illegally in the United States is going to be spending 11 years in federal prison for selling drugs in Oregon. 35-year-old Luis Beltran Arredondo lived in Las Vegas, and according to federal prosecutors, he was distributing large amounts of fentanyl and heroin. He and his fiancée used their hair salon in Tualatin to launder over $3 million. After Beltran Arredondo is released from prison, he'll be deported. Well, the only House Republican to vote in favor of a large transportation funding package in the special session, which still hasn't concluded, has announced he's changing parties in advance of a re-election bid. That would be Tillamook former Republican Representative Cyrus Javati. And why did he change parties? Well, he cited extreme politicians within the Republican Party that he says have abandoned their values. And if you look at his votes, you'll see that Javati, for the most part, votes with Democrats. A GOP Political Action Committee released a statement saying House Republicans remain united in their commitment to lower taxes, ending homelessness, and improving student outcomes. Okay, this goes to Oregon's Get Soft on Crime policies. Marion County's district attorney is calling for a change in Oregon law that allows a juvenile convicted of murder, regardless of how heinous, to be released from custody at the age of 25. Nathaniel McCrae Jr. pleaded guilty to a shooting that killed 16-year-old Joshua Vasquez Valenzuela last year. McCrae was 16 when the shooting happened. He was sentenced to the Oregon Youth Authority, and that's where juveniles who were being prosecuted are sent, and he'll be released in 8 years when he's 25. The victim's family told the judge the system isn't fair and they didn't receive a just result. Now, District Attorney in Marion County, Paige Clarkson, is calling on legislators to change that law. However, they won't. It was Oregon legislators and Democrats in the Oregon legislature, under the behest of former Governor Kate Brown, who actually changed the law a few years ago during COVID, so juvenile murderers, regardless again of how heinous their crime, would be released at the age of 25. Following up on a story that we started following a couple of months ago regarding alleged discrimination and bullying behavior by the board chair of the Lane Community College Board of Education, board members and former chair Zach Mulholland is officially censured. That happened after a vote by the rest of his board members. That followed an independent investigation concluding that Zachary Mulholland had engaged of bullying and discriminatory behavior toward LCC's president, Stephanie Bulger, who happens to be a woman of color. And they also said that, well, he bullied and discriminated other women at the college. During the meeting, Mulholland apologized to Stephanie Bulger, saying that he took responsibility for his behavior, even though previously he tried to defend his actions. He also apologized to staff and students who'd been impacted, and while Mulholland remains on the board, at least one board member, LCC member Julie Weissman, says he should resign, that his apology didn't go far enough to remedy the harm caused to Bulger and other women at the college. And that follows a call by the NAACP of Eugene and Springfield, where leadership there says Mulholland should resign. Well, it's kind of a shorter look than usual, but that's your crazy, wacky, odd, and Oregon news. All right, Rick, it's time for you to put on the daddy pants and roll out the big can of reel.